All right, everybody, what's happening? How the holidays treating you? You been eating too much? You feel like a fat fuck? You having to wear a diaper to the dinner table because you eat too much and you can't control yourself around food? It happens to the best of us. In any case, I have a great guest today in Tony Nozero. Tony is the drum looping effects sandwich eating drummer of now duo and former trio Drums Tuba. Tony toured, recorded, and generally ripped it up with the band for a decade, playing upwards of 260 gigs a year and opening for such acts as Primus, Oysterhead, Difranco, Spacehead, Galactic, and many more. It's also worth mentioning that during the interview I mentioned a band that guitarist Neil McKibbe and tuba player Brian Wolf of Drums Tuba were in when they were still in Austin, Texas, called Homnybob. And I have a strange story about how I ended up with that tape in my hands from a buddy of mine that lived in Tennessee and sent it to me in the mail in Louisiana. And I was kind of obsessed with that cassette tape and never really knew who they were, and then pieced it together later when I would see Drums Tuba that 2/3 of the members were actually in this band. So I went back and was able to digitize that cassette a few years ago, and I've since posted the cassette in its entirety on YouTube, and I'll provide the link for that. In any case, citing burnout, Tony took a break from the drums, even opting to not so much as pick up a stick for up to 6 years, and instead pursued painting. Until recently, when he got a craving to hit the skins again. Ooh! We get into how he first became enamored with the drums, killer shows he saw growing up, moving from Austin to New York to New Orleans, developing a series of effects and the time-consuming task of dealing with 1 million cables for loops and samples and incorporating those effects and samples into their live sets and on records. Plus some of his favorite and more strange shows Drums Tuba played over the years. So here we go, without further ado. Tony Nozero, people. Where you at? Crash, bang, boom.
Crowds go mad with joy.
Tony Nozero, man, what's happening, dude? How you making out?
All right. I'm doing good.
How's the how were the holidays?
I had some family in town. We went to the track.
Oh, nice.
A good thing to do.
You went Thanksgiving Day?
Yeah.
I love doing that.
Yeah.
Did you win any money on the horses?
Yeah, a little bit. I took my kid there, and he was the one who won everything.
Yeah, yeah, exactly.
But yeah, no, it's fun. So yeah, we just did that. I didn't overeat this time.
Nice. I can't seem to not do that. I always just destroy myself. I have this, though, it's like the holy trinity or the trifecta of shit that happens to me when I come back down here. I start to lose my voice. That usually happens within the first 24 hours. 2, I get acidic, so I'm like an acidic old man, like eating Tums from drinking and eating all the food that I wanted to eat and like the whole thing. And then I feel like towards the tail end of it, I'm just like perpetually on the verge of shitting my pants. That's like the 3 things that happen to me when I come down here.
I got to be careful with those.
Well, man, it's good seeing you, man. I interviewed a mutual friend of ours, an A.p.gonzalez, and that I'm realizing the first time I saw Drums Tuba, when y'all were just Drums Tuba, was playing with his band at the time, Lump, at what was, I think it was the Warehouse Cafe at that time. It wasn't Monaco Bob's just yet.
Yeah.
In New Orleans. Yeah,
those were... Oh, man, I remember that show. That was awesome. We played at the Warehouse a couple times. I think we opened for Rebirth one time. It might have even been the same show, or maybe not. Maybe it was a couple different ones. But, great place. I love AP's. Oh, man. He's awesome. He played on this record, Universal Congress.
We talked to him about it. I just talked to him about it. Do you know the story behind that?
Not really.
Dude, he went out to L.A. during the fucking Rodney King riots and was recording it out there and was like, People were looting. He said at night you could see explosions. Like,
Oh, wow.
he was totally out there for the riots.
Yeah, that was at the same time. Yeah, wow, that's goofy. It's funny. I got that record like, I don't know, it was late 80s.
Yeah.
Probably.
Yeah, I think so.
I was kind of hooked into all that music. I loved all that sort of SST world
Right.
and all that stuff.
Yeah.
I remember getting that record, and I loved the record. I remember it's just like what I did with most of the LPs that I had is, you just stare at it while you're listening to it.
Yeah.
I used to stare at his picture. He has this, like, I remember it so clearly. He's like, it's kind of hunched over, and he's kind of like this sort of funny little expression. And I used to just stare at it and listen to. This is before I knew him.
Right.
And I love the record, and I was like, man, this guy's so badass. I just like stare at his picture, and then like randomly met him when I was, I don't know, one of those early trips to New Orleans.
Yeah.
I was hanging out with. Probably the Galactic guys, Ben Ellman or something.
Yeah, exactly.
We knew him from a long time ago.
So that would connect Lump then.
Yeah, and then I met AP at that Lump show, and then we were just talking, and then like it came up that he was that guy, and I was like, wait, you're the guy.
I used to stare at your funny looking face on the back of a record.
I don't think I ever told him that much. I didn't go that deep into it, but it was just like one of those like, what? Kind of, moments. I was like 20 something, and everything was just so like out of touch, out of reach, and huge.
Right.
That's just like totally blew my mind. But I've been a huge fan of his anyway. He's awesome.
That's amazing.
He's a great guy.
What a strange circle of events.
Yeah, that was goofy.
Well, when you were like listening to records growing up, where did you originally grow up, man?
Most of it was in Madison, Wisconsin.
Okay.
A little college town up in,
Yeah.
up there, and it was pretty good in the 80s. It's just tons of bands used to go through there, like all the touring, indie rock stuff.
Right.
All the SST bands, all the touch and go stuff from Chicago, and I ended up getting to see everything.
Yeah.
From like Husker Du, Bad Brains, Dead Kennedys, Black Flag.
That's awesome.
I mean, every band came through there.
Wow.
And that was kind of my music. So
yeah,
I got to see George Hurley.
Right.
Minutemen, Firehose.
What was one of the best shows that you remember seeing? That was one of the greatest things I've ever seen.
There was a lot. When you're that age, teens, and like into something, everything, you're just like everything is so huge. But there was certain, there's a place called OK's Corral, and that was like kind of the main bar, and they used to have a little window off to the side. I was way too young to get in, but I knew the door people. I always sort of hung out with older people, but I was kind of the young kid that people were kind of like, oh yeah, there's people were nice to me.
Yeah. Yeah.
But I used to go to this place, this club, like every weekend, and there's like a little doorway and a little window, and the window just happened to be right by the drum set.
Oh man.
So I would like literally go in there and just park by that window, and they would let me do it. Like I swear to God, I went there just all the time. I was always there, watching bands and watching the drummer.
Yeah.
I was just drawn to it, and I basically learned how to play by just watching people through that window.
And it's all of these people that were totally your heroes.
Yeah, pretty much. I mean, there were a lot of local guys too. People, sure. I think my biggest influences, like I was kind of thinking about this, are most of the drummers I saw or was around then. Like, that just made a big impression on me,
Absolutely. I mean, you got to see George Hurley. That's pretty big. That guy, as far as like punk rock drumming, quote unquote, that guy's, that's a whole nother level of punk rock drumming because he was so technically gifted, but had the fire and the attitude and the sound, Yeah.
He
was a really remarkable drummer when it comes to like drummers that could shred in a punk rock, quote unquote, setting, Yeah.
I remember staring at I guess probably Firehose record with his kid on the back. It was like I don't know if it was a Vistalite or...
I think he was playing Vistalites.
Yeah, or maybe it was just clear heads, but I remember the picture, but I remember staring at that picture too.
Yeah.
Just like listening to this, like, oh my God, this is, I want to be like on top of this, you know, like I want to do this.
Yeah.
But other drummers, like I used to see this band Precious Wax Drippings, which was John Herndon, which was like probably my favorite drummer from back then. He went on to do like he was in Poster Children for a while, and
I don't think I know any of these bands.
Tortoise.
Oh, he's in Tortoise.
Yeah.
Oh, right on. Okay.
So like he was one of those guys, and he, you know, was one of those drummers that just like fucking lights up the room. You know,
Right.
like this. It's great.
Right.
You know. So he's a super nice guy, and I knew him back then too. So that I think my influences are kind of like personal. You know, sort of stuff.
It doesn't surprise me at all you saying the punk rock stuff, because that is something that you retained in your playing. Even when we talk about drums and tuba, I could sense the punk rock influences. I wasn't sure who or where it was coming from, but there was something present in that band. Even if y'all were doing funky meters type stuff, you know, there was always like an element of sort of punk rockness to it.
Oh yeah.
Which was cool.
Yeah. I mean, we're sort of, you know, fly by the seat of the pants kind of stuff.
Yeah.
You know, throw parts together and see what happens and just do it.
Right.
Not trip out too much, you know, just like see what happens. Make some noise, you know.
When when Drums and Tuba first started, just as a duo, y'all were playing like out in the streets and stuff?
We did that just a few times, you know. We get busted pretty quickly. You know, it was in Austin.
Okay, so y'all were living in Austin at this point.
Yeah, and this was like early 90s in Austin, which, you know, it was kind of like a dusty college town-ish.
Right.
It wasn't, you know, it's not nowhere near like what it is now.
Right.
But yeah, we would play out there, and we were just goofy kids, you know.
Yeah.
We have a couple of pictures of us on the street, and God, we look like 10 years old. It's like so funny to see.
Wow.
But yeah, we did that pretty soon after we started. We became a trio with Neil.
Yeah.
Playing guitar, you know.
Right on. You know, another gig that I was thinking, and I think y'all might have played it. There was a band from Austin, Brown Hornet.
Yeah.
Spelled W-H-O-R-E, Hornet.
Yeah.
That band was super crazy.
Yeah.
Did you play gigs with them, or did you see them?
Yeah.
Like,
oh, yeah, we know all those guys. I mean,
Yeah.
Austin was so small. We knew there's tons of bands, but everyone knew
Right.
each other, and everyone was playing in each other's bands
Right.
back then.
New Orleans was the same thing in the early 90s.
Right. Yeah, Brown Hornet was awesome. We played with them a ton, and yeah, they were great. You know, Tyler, the singer, lives here.
Are you serious?
Yeah, he lives down the street.
No way.
Yeah.
Oh, that's amazing.
Yeah, he's been here for a number of years now.
I had Brown Hornet CDs and shit. I
Yeah.
don't know if I still have them. I've moved so many times, especially since I landed in New York post-Katrina. I've moved like 12 times in 12 years or something absurd like that. So it's sooner or later you just realize stuff is gone.
Yeah.
You know, you seem to lose something every move or something.
Yeah.
Well, I guess flash forward once Neil joins the band, and I was telling you earlier, I've found out about him via a friend of mine that sent me a cassette tape of his former band with Brian, the tuba player of Drums Tuba, called Homnybob.
Right.
I think the cassette tape was Grind Humans.
Oh, yeah. Oh, man, yeah. That's funny.
It's crazy.
Yeah, I remember that.
So I've got all these old cassette tapes, and I need to figure out how to transfer them at some point. But that really struck my ear, Neil's guitar playing, and then flash forward, I start seeing your band. I start to make the connection that's Brian from Homnybob, and then Neil ends up in there also from Homnybob. And man, it was the band that y'all kind of became from. I think the first full CD y'all put out as a trio was
Box Fetish.
Box Fetish. There
Yeah.
it is. Yeah. So that was like kind of more minimal, sort of angular, weird, sort of
Right.
even more punk rock stuff. And then y'all started jamming more and more and like incorporating effects and all this stuff. So I guess my question is, at which point did y'all start to incorporate loops and doing that stuff live? Because that was a whole nother
Yeah, that
level.
was like phase 2.
Yeah,
You know,
right.
Yeah, that was probably just a few years in. You know, I think we started in 93, 94.
Yeah.
And, we did some short tours back then. We played with this band, the Spaceheads, from England. They are a trumpet drums duo.
Oh, weird.
Awesome. And they were doing all this stuff back then. Real crude looping stuff, but just pristine, awesome, punk, but just sounds amazing. And we kind of adapted, a style from them.
Interesting.
From playing a few shows with them, and just got into it.
Yeah.
From that, and we went through a bunch of phases with it.
Right.
A bunch of different types of machines, and first it was pedals, and then it was, rack mount things, and then it was like just a labyrinth of chords all over.
I remember seeing it. It was insane. I was like, "How did that ever just go haywire and get totally fucked?"
Always, all the time. But it was, and then at a certain point, Brian was sampling me and sending it through the loop sort of sandwich,
right?
And he would start stacking loops, loop me. And then we'd start the song. I had a whole setup to my left, and I had a hook up to Neil, so I could grab things from him. Like when he was playing a solo or something, I would grab a little snippet, and then I could run that through.
Another loops or effect sandwich.
Sure, yeah. And then I'd send that through, and it was like a lot of improv, but it was all kind of structured,
right?
Too. And we did that for a long time.
Yeah.
A bunch of years. And that's sort of where we ended up, sort of in that sort of trio, but like just making tons of layers.
Yeah, it was fucking wild, man. Point y'all signed to was it Righteous Babe Records?
Yeah,
Andy Difranco's label. Yeah. How did that come about?
They saw us. Her engineer at the time, this guy named Goat. He
was that an acronym?
He's the greatest of all time.
Okay, cool.
Yeah,
nice.
He saw us or heard about us or something, and just tipped Ani off to us and just said, "Look, you got to get into this shit."
Nice.
And so. We ended up, she asked us out on tour. Like, we had been touring a little bit and playing like little shows and, you know, things like that, doing like a couple weeks here and there. We'd go out to California and do 2 weeks and, whatever. But they were just goofy little shows and stuff.
Right.
When she asked us on, we're all of a sudden playing like huge, places. And it kind of blew our mind.
I bet.
I mean, it was like, oh my God. But we worked through it. We figured some stuff out and ended up just putting out a couple records with them and touring a lot. And that's when we really started getting busy and like really hitting the road doing like,
right. Who were some of the bands that y'all played with? Because I feel like there were some pretty crazy runs that y'all did.
Yeah. I mean, we played with like more bands than I could really even remember, but the big ones would be like Galactic. We did a lot of touring with.
Right.
We did some shows with Cake.
Cool.
We toured with Primus. And
how was touring with Primus?
It was awesome. I mean,
holy moly.
Yeah, and we did Les Claypool's other like pre-Primus reunion.
Oh, cool.
Like his stuff, I don't know,
Flying
Frog Brigade. And then he had a bunch of different random bands.
Yeah.
You know, he would call us for those, and we played with Oysterhead.
Awesome.
Which was
Stuart Copeland was in that. Trey.
So I mean, it was pretty cool.
Sounds like Les was a fan of you guys.
Yeah, he was really nice to us.
What is he like as a character? He seems like such a character.
Yeah. I mean, you know, when you're on the road like that, a lot of times, I don't know. I mean, he's kind of a private dude.
Was Herb Alexander? Was Tim similar?
Yeah. I connected with Herb a little bit more. Probably just because of the drum set and stuff. But you know, that's like you tour with a huge band. You're not like immediately best friends. You know,
right.
You sort of have to like figure out, is it okay to bug them or like, you know. And then eventually it's like, oh yeah, we're just all dudes.
Yeah.
You know, we're just like all guys playing this music, and it's fine. You know, you don't have to trip out too much.
I met Tim Alexander recently. Primus did a show in the airport, and I was flying back to New York, and I recognized him, and I was like, I have to go say hello to him and take a picture with him. It's the same thing. I didn't want to bother him, but I was like, I have to, because if he was from my childhood, I was such a huge fan of like all that early Primus stuff, and saw them playing shows when they would come into town, and it was just like they were the fucking coolest band. So I totally cheesed out and was like, hey man, I'm your biggest fan, can I take a picture with you? You know, and he was totally cool about it. So that's my only Tim Alexander story.
Yeah, he's super. I mean, he's like the nicest guy you'll meet. You know.
Is there any particular, I know you played so many fucking shows, is there one or two that were just totally bizarre, or just like a hilarious train wreck that in hindsight you're like, that was such a train wreck?
Yeah, well, a lot of them.
Y'all had so much stuff going on at that second phase, as you called it, with all the electronics, the loops, all the shit. Sure. It's like, how many variables can go wrong? And in that particular environment, so many could go wrong. Yeah,
especially too before the whole laptop stuff was happening, and before sequencing, everyone was like playing to tracks and shit. Like this was all kind of, all right, build the loop live for one. Yeah, like we never had any canned anything.
Right, I remember that.
There was no like hit the button sample. It's like, okay, you got to make it, and then you got to put that on top, and then you got to do this. So we'd always run into like weird, wacky shit, you know, which is fine. You know, you just kind of like go through it. Man, those first couple Ani tours, we were, I think, visibly just overwhelmed, probably. Yeah. And they would fuck with us while we were on stage. They would do the craziest shit to us. One time, they stuffed a fucking Teletubby down Brian's tuba, like, and he was playing. We were like fucking up there, like in front of 5,000 people. You know, we're like, oh my god, blah, blah, blah. We're trying to like do this. And we're all hyper self-aware and just like kind of like not relaxing and doing our shit. We're like, oh my god. And then, you know, this thing is in there, and he's like playing his ass off, and he's just fucking like heads is exploding, you know, and he can't figure it out, and it's like this fucking things won't work, and the sampling, the tuba sounds crazy. Oh man! And then he like, I think he went and looked in and pulled this giant stuffed animal out of it.
Like a magic trick.
Yeah, it was like they would do shit like that to us all the time. They used to play. They had a sound guy who played in the middle of one of our songs. We had these like kind of long intros and these sort of like somber bridges and things, and like introspective parts, you know. And like we're like getting into this like part of this one track or one song on stage, I remember, and then all of a sudden like fucking hear this Journey, like
really started playing Journey over your set
into the monitors. You know what I'm like? What the fuck are you doing? You know, just like shit like that. I think, and then they did so much stuff. I think they were really just trying to break us out of our headspace. It just like relax, you know?
Yeah.
I don't know if it worked.
No, I feel like that might have made it worse.
It made it worse. But there was a lot of hype. You know, it's like tour hygiene. You know, fuck with the opening band. You know,
Right.
But a lot of great memories.
What were some of your favorite bands that you really enjoyed touring with?
The Primus stuff was pretty cool.
Yeah, it had to have been.
Especially like hearing all those songs. Definitely the Spaceheads, great too. Man, it's just all such a blur, and it's just like it's a whole nother lifetime. It seems like.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, we haven't really. I mean, we pretty much broke up in 07. 08. I think that was our last tour with Primus.
Wow.
And then, you know, we had just been together for 13 years or so, and it was like we all lived in different cities.
Yeah.
And
you had, at which point, I guess to interject for a second, you had moved down to New Orleans. Where was Brian?
Brian was in New York. He's been in New York forever, since 99, I think. Or even
really?
earlier. Even earlier than that. I think 98, 7, 8.
And then where was Neil?
Neil was in Austin, and, you know, we all lived in Austin. We started there. Brian moved to New York to go to NYU. And then we went up a year later or something like that. We started playing a lot there. We did a residency at Knitting Factory, and we were sort of in that world.
Yeah.
And then we were all up there for maybe 3 years or ish. And then I moved to New Orleans, and then Neil moved to New Orleans. And then we were two-city band, and then we did that for a while, toured and stuff, and juggled all that, which is a nightmare.
I was about to say, how were y'all able to rehearse and write songs? How did that work out, being geographically distributed?
Yeah, I mean, we had a lot of years back up there.
Yeah.
We pretty much had a language already. So at that point, we had sets. You know, we had, I don't know, 50 songs we could play.
Wow, that's crazy.
We would tours would come up, and we'd just go do them and like play our shit, you know. But at that time, and then Katrina rolled through, and that just is a whole another wrench in everything.
Oh, of
made
course.
everything hard and weird, and made you sort of reassess your existence in a way.
Absolutely.
And I just like realized, like, man, I've spent a lot of time in the van.
Right.
Last 10 years. It's just kind of like, we should maybe not do this anymore. So we all did separate stuff. Neil went back to Austin. Mm-hmm. Brian stayed in New York. He still does solo music with just his tuba. He's been doing that this whole time. I quit playing for almost 8 years.
Wow.
I didn't even touch.
Really?
No.
Didn't even pick up a stick? You just put your shit up in storage and said...
Yeah. Just totally walked away from it. I started doing artwork, painting and stuff. I just put all my energy into that for, you know, about 5 of those years, 6 maybe. I mean, I went full on into that, and I kind of burned out on that too now.
Right.
And so now I'm going back to the drums.
I'm amazed that you guys toured as much as you did, man. How did y'all sustain yourselves doing so much touring like that? I mean, living in New York, how were y'all? You were having to sublet or do stuff like that for when you left, and then try to balance all that out to be able to live in New York and still tour?
Yeah. It was a juggling act for sure. You know, at that point, we'd go out for 3 months, play every day.
Yeah.
Come back for 3 weeks, go back out for 3 months, play every night. We were doing 250 shows, something like that a year, 270. It was goofy.
Y'all were all still able to get along, spending that much time with each other?
Yeah.
That's amazing.
We did pretty good. I mean, we're a pretty solid little unit, one van, just 3 guys. But yeah, it worked out for a long time.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
I can certainly see how you would have gotten burnt out on that.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, we definitely, just ground ourselves to mush.
Yeah.
After a while. We were also, we would practice on our days off. We would get, practice. We were nuts.
Damn, dude.
It was insane. It was really goofy.
Wow.
But yeah, we were just gotta play,
And then stepping away from that, especially because it becomes such an integral part of your life, touring, playing with such frequency. Was it weird when you sort of put the sticks and the kit aside? I know you were able to sort of deflect your attention or your creative juices towards painting and doing visual arts. But was it easy to step away initially, or was it?
Yeah,
because you were just burnt.
Yeah, it was the easiest thing. I was so over it, and I don't want to be in bars anymore. I don't want to talk to people about all the same stuff that you talk about at a bar every night, or driving. Just sick of driving 8 hours a day, and just done, just totally done with it. And it was really great to go into the painting studio, and be alone.
Right.
And not have to answer to anything, or just concentrate on something new. So I spent probably a year, maybe a year and a half, 2 years, just painting and just getting into it. It was a much needed change.
I believe it.
So that was easy. And then once that painting stuff got going, I was just so busy with that. It just made sense. Felt right. And now I want to play drums again.
Would you say you're an extreme person as far as obsessing over certain?
Yeah.
I would say that's the storyline.
Yeah, that seems to be the thing. Yeah, no, that's about right. I was gonna say, it's funny though, being away from the scene and other bands and other musicians, and now it's I want to get back into it. I want to start playing, but I certainly don't have any connections really that are still. I mean, none of the clubs. It's so long ago. It was 10 years now. But I still have Brian, and we've been playing a couple shows. We did Austin, New York, and New Orleans a couple times. And I was pretty nervous before the first show, just kind of it's, something I walked away from, and I've sort of built it up in my mind, and go to play that first show after so many years. It was fun.
I would say through muscle memory and experience and all that, you built up enough hours to be able to set yourself.
Yeah, it was fine, and I actually learned somehow to chill out and actually have a good time instead of overthinking everything. I think before it was we were trying so hard to do all of it: the business, playing, the writing songs, the getting better. It just was a lot. A lot of pressure we put on ourselves and stuff. And now it's I go play, and I'm kind of almost more in the moment than before, less static.
Yeah. Well, you don't have all that extraneous shit you have to focus on. You could just show up and play a gig and actually enjoy playing the music.
Sure. Yeah, it was just it's what you're supposed to do.
Right.
I was I forgot. Yeah.
Well, shit, Tony, man, good talking to you, bro.
Yeah,
I will be looking for the Drums and Tuba to return at some point. If y'all come to New York, man, you got to let me know. I'd love to see y'all. It'd be great to see you.
Yeah, absolutely. Will do.
Right on.
Thank you.
Right. That was badass. Thanks for tuning in as always, and be on the lookout for the Drums and Tuba duo in the near future. Thanks, Tony. Thanks, Brian Wolf. Thanks, Neil McKibbe. Thanks, Big Horny Hustler. And thanks, Homnybob. Drums and Tuba, y'all. Crash, bang, boom.